successfully blocked this Democratic effort to tie the government's spending plan along with raising the debt limit. Of course, the debt limit is set to reach its peak somewhere in the middle of October, while government funding is scheduled to run out by as soon as the end of this week. The Democrats wanted to tie both of these two critical pieces of legislation together to get it all done in one fell swoop, and to put both Republicans and Democrats on the record in supporting this.
Right.
But the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said that Republicans were just not going to support raising the debt limit. Now, McConnell, right before this vote, did offer up a different option of a standalone continuing resolution, which would keep the government funding going and keep the government open, but Democrats rejected that. So essentially what we had is what we expected, a party line vote. It would have required 10 Republican votes in order for this piece of legislation to move to the next stage. So the big question now, Wolf, is what do Democrats do now? The timeline is really tight at this point because, as we said, the government could shut down as soon as the end of this week.
Okay, so I know, and I bet you can figure it out too. I know you can. Just use your big brain and figure it out, okay? Figure it out with me. So, the Republicans said they will fund the government. They will continue to pay air traffic controllers and send out the Social Security checks and pay the military and do all those things. They will do it. They're totally, down with that. Now, I know that the reason why we bundled the continuing resolution to fund the government and the debt ceiling limit, the suspension of that together, was, as I said yesterday, to get the Republicans on the record that they are prepared to default the United States of America if it means that they can keep power, and they are willing to shut down the government as they did for 3 weeks over the stupid wall when Donald Trump was president. They're willing to do it because they won't govern. They won't do it. They can't do it. They don't have any interest in it. They're only interested in power plays and power for themselves. And they think that shutting down the government is a bad look for them. But defaulting the United States, that's something they will blame the president for. And so they're willing to see America default on its debt for the first time in the history of the United States of America. Now, it's hard enough to keep the federal government open and running when you have an opposition parties going nah, 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 as a governing philosophy, which is what you have. And of course, we needed 60 votes. We needed 10 of them to proceed. And not only do they obstruct everything, but they do it while they're in the minority, which is like being beaten up by a bully who's smaller than you over and over and over again. And so they're willing, the Republicans are, to separate out the funding of the government and vote on that straight up and down. And they said that they have the votes to fund the government. I say take it. Let's do that. Let's do that. Now, what are we left with? We're left with the debt that they ran up, okay? A little bit of it is ours, a little bit. But $8 trillion worth of debt has to be covered. Okay. Nancy needs to or wants to bring up the bipartisan, roads and bridges package for a whopping $55 billion of investment in your community, in my community, in the airports, in the dams, in the levee system, in the roads, in the falling down bridges, all of it, $55 billion. Okay, that's what they're willing to do. Which leaves us with the families plan, which is something we need in order to go back to work. Child care, elder care, senior expansion so that, I mean, when they're literally against having senior citizens have teeth in their mouth, you know that they have reached an all-time low. When they're literally unwilling to educate our kids when they're 3 years old, which is what every competitive nation on this planet, anybody who wants to compete with us does this. And when they're saying, no, America shouldn't compete, America shouldn't start educating their kids earlier than we already do. And also it would free up dads and moms to go to work because their kids would be packed off to school and not daycare, but to school, when they're not for that, you don't have to negotiate with them anymore. You have to figure out a way to do what you know needs done by yourself. Now, I watched people trash Nancy Pelosi last night because Nancy Pelosi said that she might on Thursday, or that she intends to on Thursday, bring up the bipartisan package without the 3.5 Build Back Better plan. And the Progressive Caucus, which is like 94, 95 members. I mean, we used to have Blue Dogs. The Blue Dogs don't exist anymore, okay? I think they're down to 16 or 19 members. They were, the Blue Dogs were everything in the 90s. For those of you who don't remember, they were the first real corporate Democrats, okay? And they literally shot themselves in the foot over and over again to the point where they don't even exist. You do have a group called the New Democrats. Some of them like to call themselves problem solvers, but they never, ever solve any of our problems. They create problems, okay? And so some people are saying, oh, Nancy caved into the problem solvers caucus. Nancy caved into the corporate Democrats. Nancy caved into the Blue Dogs. Nancy caved into the to the New Democrats, because they come from swing states, and she knows that in order to stay Speaker of the House, or in order to keep the majority in the House, those swing districts have to be won by Democrats. And oh my God, she's selling out the progressives. She knows she has the votes. She has told us she has the votes. She said she had the votes on Sunday. I believe her.
Problem is, you need 98 or 99% to pass the bills. And I know you said the infrastructure bill is going to pass, but the leader of the Progressive Caucus in the House, Jamila Prayapal, is balking. She said on Friday that voting on this bill tomorrow is an arbitrary date, adding that more than 50 members will vote no if you first don't have agreement on the broader social investment bill. So are you confident these progressive members are going to vote yes, even though she says no?
Well, let me just say we're going to pass the bill this week. I promised that we would bring the bill to the floor. That was according to the language that those who wanted this to be brought to the floor tomorrow wrote into the rule. We will bring the bill to the floor tomorrow for consideration. But you know, I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes. And I think any time you put an arbitrary date, well, remember when the Republicans said they were going to overturn the Affordable Care Act on the anniversary of the Affordable Care Act? I knew right then and then they were doomed. You cannot choose the date. You have to go when you have the votes in a reasonable time, and we will.
So she says she has the votes. I think I know why she says she has the votes, even though the Progressive Caucus rightly will hold their ground and not give their votes for the bipartisan package unless the big package is committed to as well. I think I figured it out.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
3 more days. 3 more days, everybody, for the Free Speech TV Fall Fundraiser. 3 more days. I was wrong. I thought it was over on Friday, but it has more days to go. So if you can, please donate today. 877-378-8669. That's the old-fashioned telephone. Freespeech.org will get you there, too. Freespeech.org on the internets. And if you like texting, we actually have an easy way. 44321. You dial 44321, and then you text FSTV, Free Speech TV, to 44321. We will send you a secure link, and you can make your donation that way. And also, you can follow the fundraiser there. I should have done it. Then I would have known. We had 3 more days. So thank you very much. Listen, I want to play you something. Jamila Prayapal was on the TV last night, and Pramila was asked about the bipartisan bill that's going to be introduced for their vote on Thursday. And didn't the Progressive Caucus say that they would not vote for one without the other? And especially Pramila, because Pramila is the head of the Progressive Caucus. Okay. And so it was interesting to hear how cheerful she was feeling and how upbeat she sounded.
Right now, if the plan is still to do the infrastructure vote on Thursday, it sounds like the plan from you and the Progressive Caucus is still to vote that down unless there has been significant progress toward the Build Back Better bill, the reconciliation bill. It sounds like Thursday might still be more on the bubble than the headlines would make you believe.
I think that's right. Look, I think these are arbitrary dates. I think today was an arbitrary date that was set by a small group of people. I think what's important is, do we want to deliver on the Democratic agenda and the president's agenda? Negotiations are happening. I don't think the speaker will bring the vote to the floor the bill to the floor if she doesn't have the votes.
Right.
And I think she is very clear that without the reconciliation bill voted on, we are going to have, it can't be a pinky promise, right, Rachel? It's got to be an actual bill that is written, the legislative text is written, the numbers are agreed to, everything is agreed to, in order for us to be able to vote for the bipartisan bill. And I think she's really clear on that. So we're going to do everything we can. I've been having conversations over the weekend. Every single minute of every single day is taken up with this. And those conversations are really good. They're very productive. And I believe that we will continue to work. And let's see if we can get it done by Thursday. Great. I've always been surprised at what happens here in the last 24, 48, 72 hours when there's a deadline. But if we can't, then we'll keep working and we'll get it done as soon as we can.
She sounds awfully upbeat, okay? Awfully upbeat. And so this is what got me thinking, watching Congresswoman Prayapal. I listened to Ilhan Omar also. She is the whip, meaning the vote counter for the Progressive Caucus. And she said, hey, listen, we're not going to be satisfied with, Rhodes and Britt. We want people to be able to feel the change that we're representing, that Biden represented, that Biden promised the American people they would feel in, with his agenda. And we're not going to stop until people feel the difference that we can make in their lives. Okay, so what happened last night? Nancy actually wanted a vote. She wanted everyone on the record about who would allow the government to go defunded and who would allow the United States to default. And I think that was an easy call for her. It was an easy call for us. Yesterday, we told you, this is why she's doing it. She wants people on the record voting to default the United States, right? And so the Republicans then said, well, we'll fund the government. We just won't help you with the debt ceiling. You have to do that by yourself. So the only real way forward for the debt ceiling, for not defaulting the United States of America for the first time in the history of our existence and labeling us a deadbeat nation and throwing us into a recession and watching the stock market tank and seeing interest rates go woo through the roof for people who have credit cards, which is everybody, and people who have car loans and people who have home loans and et cetera, is through reconciliation. It is the only way to raise the debt ceiling. It is the only way. Obviously, we don't have 10 Republicans who respect the United States or care about the United States' reputation in this world, or Americans who pay bills every month. They don't give a whit about us. Not a whit about us. For them, it's all about wielding power. Well, I think Nancy is smarter than Mitch. And I think Nancy understood that they were willing to fund the government, but they weren't willing to raise the debt ceiling. So she packaged them together to get them on the record as being against both, because it was the most you could get, most bang for your buck. But they said now that they would fund the government. They won't raise the debt ceiling. So the only way to raise the debt ceiling, the only way, is through reconciliation. Well, guess what we got? That's already going to go through reconciliation. And remember, reconciliation is only for budgetary items. You can't do immigration reform through reconciliation. You can't do women's rights bills or voting legislation through reconciliation, okay? You can only do budgetary things through reconciliation. And why is that? Well, because our sick government prioritizes financial prowess over the well-being or the constitutionally guaranteed rights of its own people. So therefore, you need a supermajority to actually guarantee people's constitutional rights, like voting. But you could do through reconciliation, which is only 50 votes, it'd be 51, through a simple majority, you could do budgetary things. Well, what is more budgetary than the debt ceiling? Nothing. Nothing. And what is going through reconciliation already? The Build Back Better plan, the Families Plan. And what is the holdup on the 51 votes for the Families Plan? Why, it's Kirsten Sinema, who's at a fundraiser today, raising $30,000 in 45 minutes from the grocery, manufacturers, from the wholesalers groups, all the people that don't want their taxes raised. Okay, they're all giving her money today so that she will vote against it. Okay, so you got her as, the hold up to everything, the impediment to progress for American families. Just make a note of it, because she's going to change parties. You watch. She's going to become an independent. And then you've got Joe Manchin in West Virginia, also an impediment. Now, he hasn't actually said why he's against Build Back Better, because West Virginia will benefit extraordinarily through the investment in his people, through child care. West Virginia is number 3 in the over 65s, the population. And elder care, meaning you get to stay at home, but somebody will come and help you with meals, or someone will come and help you get out of the chair, or someone will come and get you a nice shower in the morning, or someone can come and make you breakfast. Right? That's all in this plan. So he hasn't said why he's against it. I think he's against it just because he's a contrarian, you know what I mean? And he likes the power that he wields. However, you fold in the default bill, the debt ceiling, and let him vote against that. Let him do that. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.